Hey guys, this is an examples video, so this will be examples only of putting quadratics into this form by completing the square. I've given really detailed instructions on how to do this, but in my last video I just said I would include even more examples. So if you feel like you're not getting enough, if you want to see more, make sure you check out the first video. I'll drop a link to it in the description. So in this video, we're going to go over these three examples. So if you want to try them, you can pause the video and then hit play when you're ready. So what we're going to do to start is, so in this particular equation, so we don't have the leading coefficient that we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 2. If I multiply everything by 2, that'll get rid of this fraction, and then that'll get me to the leading coefficient of 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of write this out as shown. So I've multiplied each part by 2, so I get 2 times f of x equals x squared plus 2x minus 6. Now the next thing that I need to do is I need to isolate the x terms. So I'm going to go ahead and add 6 to each side. So I get 2 times f of x plus 6 equals x squared plus 2x. Now I'm ready to complete the square. So I want to complete the square on this side. So if I do that, in this case, my b is 2, my half b is 1, and my half b squared is still 1. So now I need to add that 1 to each side. So I'll go ahead and I'll add that 1 to each side. So I'll go x squared plus 2x plus 1. So now this is going to be 2 times f of x plus 7. And for this side, I need to now finish completing the square, so I need to factor this. So this side will factor as x plus 1 squared. And now the whole point of this is to put this into this desired form. So this was kind of the whole point of these. So we've got quadratics, we want to get them into this form. So I'm just about there. The only thing I've got to do now to finish getting this into that form is to solve for f of x. So I will go ahead and I will subtract off the 7. So I get 2 times f of x equals x plus 1 squared minus 7. And now I need to divide everything by 2. So that's what's going to help me finish this off. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just clear off a little bit of space so I can show you what the final answer here will look like. So I'll erase all this. So my final answer then will be f of x equals. Now, I could write this as this over 2, but from a graphing standpoint, I would prefer to think of this as 1/2 times x plus 1 squared. And then all that minus 7 over 2. So like I said, if this just seemed like this went a little too fast, I'd highly recommend you watch my other video on this where I break this down in tons and tons of detail. So I'm really just kind of continuing on from my previous video here. Okay, so now for this example, so we're going to do the same thing. So first I've got to clear that fraction. So to do that, I'm going to multiply everything by -3. So hopefully you can see I've multiplied everything by -3. So it's going to look a little goofy, of course, with this g of x, but that's okay. And then this is x squared minus 12x plus 6. So just also make sure this time you flipped all your signs. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to isolate my x's. So I'll go ahead and I'll subtract the 6 off. So I get -3 times g of x minus 6 equals x squared minus 12x. And now I can go ahead and complete the square. So in this case, my b will be -12, my half b will be -6, and therefore my half b squared is equal to 36. So this will be -g of x, -3 times g of x minus 6 plus 36 equals x squared minus 12x plus 36. Now I can collect my like terms and I can go ahead and factor. So this will be -3 times g of x plus 30 equals x minus 6 squared. And now I can go ahead and solve for g of x. So to do that, I'll go ahead and subtract off the 30. So now I get -3 times g of x equals x minus 6 squared minus 30, and now I need to divide everything by -3. So I'll divide each part by -3 as shown. And once again, let me just clear off a little bit of space for myself over here so I can see the final answer. So now my final answer will be g of x equals negative 1/3 times x minus 6 squared plus 10. Okay, so we have one more left. So in this one, so once again, I've got the leading coefficient that I need. So I'm just going to start by subtracting off the 2. And so let's see, I get y minus 2 equals x squared plus 3x. Now here's the plot twist with this one. So now when you complete the square, this will not be as beautiful because it's not an even number. So my recommendation is when you take your half b, just call this 3/2. So just leave it as a fraction. I think that's kind of the best way to press ahead with this. And then I've got 1/2 b squared, so this will be 9/4. I just squared the top and the bottom. So now I want to add that 9/4 to each side. And this will take just a little bit more work, but that's okay. We can get through this. So this will be x squared plus 3x plus 9/4. Okay, so first things first, I need to convert this -2 just to the equivalent fraction over 4. So -2 is the same thing as -8/4. So let me write that out. So this is going to be minus 8/4 plus 9/4. And then this side, so I have to factor this side. Now, one of the tricks of completing the square is that if you aren't sure how to factor, it's always just whatever your half b is. This is part of the reason why you write all this detail out. So this will just be x plus 3/2 squared. You can always count on this being just how you factor that. So if you ever get thrown off, you just refer back to this. So now I can finish this. So this is going to be x plus 1/4 equals x plus 3/2 squared. And thankfully it's not going to be that much work for me to actually finish this, so I just have to subtract off the 1/4 from each side. And one last time, I'll go ahead and just erase all of this, so I've got some room. So this will be y equals x plus 3/2 squared minus 1/4, and that would be that in the correct form. So that covers it for the extra examples that I have. So, you know, again, if you want to see the details of just kind of how to do all of this, feel free to check out my first video on this. I'll drop a link to it in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys.